All right. Entertain a motion to approve the agenda, please.
So moved.
Okay, so we have a motion by Sabrina
Support.
and support by Rachel. All right, any discussion on the agenda?
Yeah, I want to move payment of bills under 5C
Okay,
and to place it under action items number 7.
B7.
Yeah.
So payment of bills out of consent agenda. Okay, to number 7. All right, and according to, just so everybody's aware, according to bylaws, anybody requesting something moved out of consent agenda, that automatically does that. So, all right, any other additions or changes to the agenda?
Yeah, I would also want to move, I would like to add under action items, make it number C, letter C, the discussion of the superintendent's evaluation calendar date, so we can set a date for that.
Okay, so we have a motion. Do we have a second on that?
Support.
This is to add it to the agenda. So we have a motion by Rich, support by Rachel. Any discussion on adding that action item to the agenda?
I'll just remind you, it's not a good look to keep adding things to the action items when we have an agenda that could have added to it before, but it is what it is.
Any other discussion? Okay, seeing none. I have a motion and support. All in favor of adding that item to the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Okay, Rob is a nay. All right. That motion passes. Any other items on the agenda, please? Okay, seeing none or hearing no other changes to the agenda, we have a motion and support. Can I get a vote, please? All in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. All right. Agenda is approved. That brings us to Board Spotlight, Michigan River Watershed Update.
You do? Okay.
All right, so I'm Sarah Simon, and I teach 7th grade science, and this is Sarah President, and she's a fellow for the Michigan River Watershed Assembly. And Sarah contacted me last February, I think it was, so we've been working on this process for a while now. But she was looking for a school to partner with so that she could come into the classroom and teach the students some environmental topics, including things like evaluating the ecosystem and different water quality testing and things like that. And so Sarah and I met, and we came up with a plan, and then she wrote a grant to cover the cost for our students to go out to the Wheeler drain area and do some testing there. And so once she had her grant approved, then she did some planning and some lesson planning for the students. And then in October, that's when she came into
partners are me as the Watershed Assembly, Grant Public Schools, as well as the Card Island Conservation and Wildlife Education Center, which is at Harris Community. And the Real Creek Exploration Program covers a few different Michigan content expectations, one being evaluating competing design solutions for maintaining biodiversity uses and services, and the other being applying scientific principles to design method monitoring and minimizing the human impact on the environment. And the whole project goal is basically just teaching students how to evaluate applied ecosystems and to help and collecting information that they know will be used in decision making for student restoration. So the students are doing the data collection and evaluation and learning about this awesome piece of property that the Grant Public Schools has. So other learning objectives are covered in this grant, evaluating how we can apply ecosystems, conducting various water quality tests, understanding water quality parameters, such as oxygen, temperature, pH, and how they enter the system and how they impact the environment, executing the full scientific process, and then making restoration recommendations to the site based on analysis of the student collected data. And so, as Sarah mentioned, for the October session, what we did is I came in for twice before the field day, where I went over the different things we'll be covering during the field day, preparing students for doing all the data collection, so they can expect that when we do our field day, they know what's going on and we can have a good experience. And then we had one field day, which was a full day after the retreat. Grant Public Schools did funding the transportation and their lunches for the students, and another big fire volunteers as well to help with the events. So what they did is they had 3 different stations. They did macro vertebrate collection, they did water quality sampling, or samples using a Y-side probe for dissolved oxygen, temperature, and pH. And then also Card Riley came out and they did a session on riparian zones and animals in the riparian, aquatic, and terrestrial ecosystems. And then so that was, we had one in October, and we'll do the next one in May, and then we'll do the same procedure for that one as well.
We are going to do something a little bit different for the midterm marking periods because they have 4 different groups of students that I'll see throughout the school year. So we're able to do the same one in the fall and in the spring, but we have a winter session. So we have some different options that we're thinking about for January and also March.
Yeah, so the winter sessions, another reason we're doing it differently is because in order to do the data collection, we really only need to do it in September, October, and like May, June. So this one is mainly for just continuing the educational portion of the grant and making sure that all 4 of Sarah's quarters for classes can learn this information. So they'll also come in and do a class portion of prepping them for the event, and then we'll have a field day after middle school, so we'll do a section on macroinvertebrate activities, so we can, we'll still bring in macroinvertebrates for them to look at and pick and things. We're going to have an invasive species and native plant species activity that the Muskegon Conservation District put on at the Discovery of the River event back in September, so they're going to come in and volunteer and put that event on. And then we're also going to partner with the CropStat, New York Conservation District. They have some stations, so we're going to do an outdoor nature walk and the cross-country course outside of the village as well. And so I'll also come in afterwards and do data analysis, because they can still use the data that the students collected in October, and then still do the water quality rating and learn about the site as well, just the data split. And then just if y'all were interested, here's some of the data that we collected. So we have the pH, which is all about the temperature of the different sites. There are 3 different sampling sites on the stream. The 2 are by the stream road crossing, so the most upstream site is at the Walnut Avenue stream crossing. The most downstream site is at the East 108 stream crossing, and then there's a site just in the middle in the woods. And then they also did the macroinvertebrate sampling there. And so from the data, they show that the macroinvertebrate levels, the ratings were very good, or good for all the sites, which is great. And then we also compared the data to past data that we have collected at the site, and we like the first pilot project or educational project we've had at the site, and it has a lot of great future potential. Some things that we could look to adding is clearing some of the trails. So most of the trail was very well maintained, but there are some areas where some trees were blocking it, we had to go around them. And then also creating designated stream access points. So we were able to find good access to all the different sites we were monitoring during the field day. But if we had designated access points, then that would help minimize any site damage, which could cause continuously go in and out of incredible areas. And then the last slide is one. So what questions do you have for us?
On your slide that had the A, B, and C test sites, which was which? Because C definitely was different, had different kind of trends than what A and B were. So I was just curious.
Yeah, so C was the most downstream site, so that would be, I apologize, I should have put a map in.
No, that's fine.
Sorry, we skipped over this today. But it would be the East 108th Street site. So those Wheeler Creek flows, it comes in from the west and then it goes north. So those are the most northern sites.
Not really questions per se, but a couple of comments first. I'm so happy that this project is off and running and that you were able to do this, hands-on intensive work with our students. And I'm really happy that you pointed out the career aspect of it. I think that's one of the benefits of having a dynamic program is that when you can introduce students not only to the work and the environment and, the materials and supplies, because that was another thing, right, that you were able to bring in some equipment that students hadn't used before or to that degree. And then you throw on top of it that there are paid professionals who do this. And so if you have an interest in this, there is a career pathway for you to explore. So I think that is a really, really cool project. And I'm also, this is one of I think the domino effect in a good way, because like you said, you can't do this in the winter, but we have the backside, the wooded side of the cross-country course that you can go out and do some exploration and looking at environments in a different season. So it's maximizing our resources, which is also great. And I heard rumors, maybe some snowshoes get to use. So well done. I think this is really cool, and I'm excited to see where this builds to, because I feel like we're just scratching the surface. So that's very cool.
I am curious, the professionals that you had out there, that the students were interacting with, not who were they, but what were their careers?
So we had some people who had volunteered with us in the past for my course in places, people who had just been trained volunteers for that. And then we had someone from the NATO Conservation District.
Okay. Okay, good, thank you. Any other questions?
One other
Connor?
potential collaboration, at least to maybe look into, is there's a very active West Michigan chapter of the North Country Trail. I mean, they're housed out of Lowell, but they do a lot of work over in this area, and it's not a part of the North Country Trail system, which, by the way, just became part of the National Park Trail system, which is really cool. But they're advocates, and they do a lot of knowledge on wildlife and all that, but also trail maintenance, trail best practices, things like that. As that component of the property starts to build, that might be another good outlet to reach out to and see. And it's all volunteer driven, so people are passionate about it. Side note.
Good. Anything else? All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your time.
All right, so up next is, I'm sorry, go ahead. Oh, okay, sorry, thank you.
Well, thank you. I'm Marty Holker, and this is part two, and I'm the brief. But this, and I'm also with the Muskegon River Watershed Assembly. And I did want to highlight this with this opportunity, the relationship we've had with Grant Public Schools for the past few years. We've written grants together, we've supported each other in efforts. Some of the work that Sarah has provided to the watershed for the astounding, having kids go out there to plant rain gardens and to see the real on-the-world effects that rain gardens have. One is at Henning Park in Lego, and it is curved runoff and erosion that's taking place. So I just think you should be very proud of the efforts of this school. So thank you. I wanted to talk about an exciting kind of offshoot of what Sarah had just described, and it's another improvement project at the River property. And for the past 2 years, we've been working with you and with Consumers Energy and Eagle, and looking at ways that we can enhance the property and protect it. And one of the exciting pieces, because of Consumers Energy's emergency spillway project, they have defined mitigation projects that they do. This was one, because we were familiar with the site, well, maybe this would be a good mitigation. It's required by Eagle, it's not a grant, so it's not taxpayer funded, and it could provide extreme benefits to this property, and also the educational opportunities as well. We started in 2022, where I went out and did an assessment of the property, looking at its condition, and that's really what set forth when Eagle looked at it, said, hey, this could be, there's some problems with this property that are affecting downstream resources. And they encouraged us to work with the school to see, would this be a project that would be acceptable? We also did a site visit with the superintendent and with board member Skagen. And this was about a year and a half ago when we left the property. And then we engaged with Consumers Energy, they had a design and engineering team come out and started looking to see if would this functional lift they need for these credits, would there be enough of this property? Then even, it was 3 months ago, we went out with board member Vance and with board member Skagen at the end and explored the property with Consumers Energy, started brainstorming on what some of those opportunities may be. Because it's a drain, we've also worked with the Lake County Commissioner, Gail Twing, and we kept him in the loop on just the different activities. He's been supportive, really, of anything that can be done positive in the drain. One of the interesting pieces with the students is Sarah was talking about all the sand that's collapsing in from the property. One of the students said, well, hey, I live on that lake. There's a big sand plume right at the mouth. It was really cool to see that student make that connection that sand is traveling down the street and eventually sort of comes into that lake. The property improvements would take place really are numerous. One is there's a large loss of property right now. I was really astounded by the vertical nature of those banks, and I think none of us want to stand on the edge because they are collapsing right now. Those are inputting tons of sand per year into that system. Another piece is, especially with some of the agriculture upriver, there's an opportunity with some of the procedures we put in place to minimize the nutrients as well. They're traveling downstream, going into the lake. I think one of the biggest pieces, though, that's damaging the property is a confined channel. So it's in a very confined bank. When you have high flow events, the erosion is significant. That tower of that river is really biting away each rain event at that property. I have a couple of photos too in a minute I want to show. So within even the first, this is Walnut, sorry, that was Walnut Avenue. And you can see really the twisted nature of that stream as it enters into Walnut Avenue. So within about 200 feet, there's three significant impairments. One is, you can see at the upper right-hand side, that's the road crossing. And at that point in time, that's a low flow event, there's not much water coming out. During a high flow event I've gone out there, those two tubes work as a water cannon. And literally, it's shooting out, it's hitting the near bank and causing extreme erosion. You can see on that lower left photo, that's a big plunge pool where the river is couple weeks, probably before we go out. On the right side piece, just to show some of the damage of that bank, I actually took a yardstick and stuck it underneath that undercut in the bank, and I didn't hit the end, and I even put my arm in about that way, so that bank is undercut about probably 5-6 feet, and once again, it's working its way to collapsing. And the reason is, just simply, the stream is trying to find its shape. Natural streams, with the natural design, have more of a sinuous and a long approach to dispersing energy. And at the Wheeler Drain, it's interesting. The first piece has very sinuous. There's all these switchbacks and erosion taking place. But then as you get into the mid portion of the property, it becomes a straightaway, and it gets all this energy until it hits that next bank, and it hits at full force, and then deflects. So there's a lot of good improvements that could be done on the property. I want to just talk briefly about the restoration designs and what could take place. One is that the stream corridor could be widened to accommodate those high flow events. And I'll show you a picture of where we installed what we call bank benches. And instead of being in a confined channel, it allows the water to overflow to a higher bank, so there's not as much damage to the banks. The other piece too is in the design we could improve those meanders and make them more natural to disperse energy, much more aesthetic as well. And the hope is to maximize those educational opportunities and have safe locations for the students to interact. This is from Consumers Energy, their consultant, who is ECT, and that's an image of what the stream could look like. You'll see that just a more gentle meander. The stream's actually lengthened if that takes place. Instead of being straight, it adds some length, which starts dispersing the energy. We've done this in another location. This was actually just done 3 months ago. And the upper bank looks quite pretty similar to what we would see at the other creek. That center image, you can see that's where the terracing is, and that's what we call a two-stage bank. So when the water gets high, it can overflow to that other bank. And just that right image where you see all the green, that was only 3 weeks, and we already had those plants rooting in to stabilize the banks. And then that bottom image we took about a week ago, the whole bank is vegetated. That's just a few months. And next spring we'll have the shrubs and the trees start moving in and really putting some stability to that bank. So the final piece, and I think what we're most excited about is what could this mean for the school? I just told you about the property damage and the ways we can mitigate that. But it's also the time to start thinking about what could the property look like? What are the opportunities within this restoration? Because one thing that would need to be done to bring equipment in to help meander and bench that, there would have to be, you see the green line and the border of the property, that's the project area. And you have to bring the banks back probably about 10 feet on each side, but that then would allow for very good student access.
Excuse me, Mark.
Yes.
Say how far back?
About 20 feet.
20 feet?
No, the tapering back would be about 10 feet from the top of the bank currently.
Okay.
And then, as time goes on, too, we'd love to sit down and go through the specific engineering design.
Sure.
With dimensions. You see there's a little green rectangle there. There could be potentially a bridge where students could access both sides of the river. There's 4 access points that are the little arrows. These are just kind of arbitrary. There could be more. And then having a trail network, which is the white line, and then also having a pavilion that would allow for students to sit down and be able to eat lunch or have a nice area that's shaded to be able to do their work on the site. And this is all preliminary concepts, but I just wanted to bring it up, just some of the things we were brainstorming at this point. What we would need from a permitting perspective, Consumers is going to need to put forward a permit in the next few months. And they would need the permission of the school, obviously, and legal review to be able to come in and do work of that nature. And that was one piece I wanted to just to disclose right now, like a work session or something to talk about the details and make sure. And the other piece is to make sure this is us brainstorming with the staff and your grant writer and Stephanie Phillips here, I think, and she was very responsible for helping on some of this design as well, but I think there's a lot of opportunity. We're very excited to continue the discussion. So with that, thanks for the time.
Hey, Marty, stay right there. I'm going to look at something. If you could just explain, as we're looking at this,
Yep.
what is our distance between here, and then what is our distance from here down to here? What are we talking about?
Yeah, that's a good point. So the green line is, I believe that is 100 foot from the stream channel. So it would be a 200-foot project area.
So from here to here, it's 200 feet?
That's correct. And that wouldn't be the disturbed area. That would just be what we define as the project area.
Okay. So within that 200 feet, we're talking about anything within that line, most of that vegetation and trees would be gone.
No, sorry, I should have explained it. So the 200 feet, that's the only part that would, as far as when the Eagle goes through the permitting process,
Okay.
they would evaluate any actions that took place within that border. That, I get what, so you're talking that blue line that you see it?
The thick line there?
Yes, that
Okay.
other blue line, that is where those banks would be.
And that's about 100 feet?
The banks would be pulled back probably just 20, and the full buffer where heavy equipment would come in, I don't remember the exact number, but I think that would be around 40 to 50 feet of area that might need to be cleared.
On each side or total?
That would be on each side.
Okay. So from a perspective, if we take that stream, I'm trying to build a visual, okay, for all of us. So go back to the restoration design. Can you go back to that?
Yes. Is that one right?
Go back. It's a picture. So, okay, right there.
Yep.
So when we look at that stream, like on the right, when you're done, none of that would be there. Because by the time you widen the stream and build your embankment, most of that vegetation would be gone. Am I correct?
Yeah, on the near shore or near bank, that is absolutely right.
Okay.
With the caveat that if there's trees or certain pieces that need to be protected, those would be set aside.
Is there a way that can be narrowed down? Because it's like, let's say we go through downtown Newaygo. You're talking from building to building, is no trees in that, and yet we're trying to create a cold water stream, correct? So when you're done, it's going to be many years before there's shade trees in that, shading the water, keeping it cool. Now, am I correct?
You're absolutely right.
Okay.
Yep, and I think there's two pieces. When I talked to the design engineer, he kept telling me these are the maximums, right? And that
Okay.
we're hoping to make it as minimal as possible. Your point's well taken. If there can be areas that are set aside that aren't impacted, that we can keep the vegetation. The other thing, and you're right, some of those do take very long. And part of it is on the near shore, is coming up with those plants, such as some of the shrubs that are rapid growers or high tall grasses like we had in that.
Sure.
Language, installing them immediately and trying to get quick growth. But that's a point well taken. That is something that's an asset Vestron is keeping with them.
So you have asked them, how can we narrow this down? What's our minimal?
Yes, and
Yeah,
that's,
and so that we can somehow still create a cold stream situation that has shade.
that's correct.
Okay.
And that's our effort, is to keep that
Okay.
nearest to, is to keep that footprint as narrow as possible.
Okay, thank you.
Well, and then a part of that is also a replanting initiative that comes along with that, which I think is an amazing learning opportunity. And on that note, though, if nothing is done, a lot of that will come down anyway, and it'll come into the river.
Right.
Because if the erosion is keeping going, the banks are just going to keep falling in and falling in and falling in.
I count about 30 trees right now that already have undercuts with the roots that
Yeah.
welcome their way to going. One of the interesting pieces I do see in this is the evaluation that students would have. They have firsthand opportunity come in year after year, see what the effects are, and then regrow it back. So that's, not many students would have that opportunity.
Yeah.
And to use past students, looking at brothers or sisters' data to evaluate, the current condition.
You mentioned that the permitting would have to happen in the next few months.
Yes.
Can you kind of go over like the immediate near future kind of timeline? Because I know based off of the conversations with consumers, we are looking at like 2025 as like the project finish date. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
Yeah. So what? Sorry.
Initiate that whole project.
Yeah.
It would be the permit, right? And for them, they can't start on a final design for, obviously mobilization until after permit, and then it's going to take at least a year of review, et cetera.
Yeah.
The first step that they're looking towards is sharing a very specific design with the board and the school, and we sit down and go over what those details are and what needs are. It's not them coming in and saying, hey, this is a one-size-fits-all. Restoration has 100 different forms, right? And we should get a form which fits the best needs of the school. So that would be within the next 2 or 3 months. I could see us having a discussion where we can send you the design plans prior to for your review, and hopefully have a back and forth. Even before the meeting, we've had a little bit of that where if there's something that we need revision of, we can do it prior to a meeting. So that would be the first step. The second step after agreeing to a kind of a conceptual design, that then is making sure that all the legal agreements are in place and that you're protected, the consumers would be protected, and there would have to be access, for instance, an easement for them to come in and do the work, but also that the work that was installed, that there is assurances that those will stay in place.
Yeah. And part of this is also then the pavilion with funding from the foundation. And I know that there were some concerns about 2 different timeframes. And, you have one funder that's already like dedicated the money and they want to get rolling. And then you have the other that's a little bit slower pace. Are we in line with where we need to be with both aspects? I don't know if maybe that's a more a you question, Brett, or because I know that we had talked about creating like the space for the pavilion as soon as possible with this, if possible.
Yes.
And that would be a grant-funded project, for sure. So it wouldn't cost the district anything.
Right, yeah. Well, none of this is going to cost the district,
Right.
any of these plans, but I'm just the timing. I want to make sure that we are prepared to move forward with things so that we're not missing any important deadlines on either end, I guess is what I'm trying to
That's a
say.
great point. And one of the important pieces, that's why we even initially came up with that concept design, is what are those elements that could be of interest to Grant Public Schools. So we identify those as opportunities for grant funding. So I think we're positioned very well that when opportunities come up that we're able to collaborate and move forward.
Marty, the photo where you said that you showed the culverts, and said, I think the term that you used was they become water cannons. How are those addressed in this?
And I mentioned earlier that I had discussion with the Drain Commissioner.
Yeah.
And also with the Road Commission. So the way that if we don't replace the road stream crossing, there would have to be structures installed downstream, like grade control, that would minimize the energy coming downstream. But if we could replace that culvert with a bridge or some open bottom system that was free-flowing, then the money, the savings that wouldn't have to be spent on that grade control feature could be put to the road crossing for replacing it with a bridge. And also, we'd be working with the Drain Commissioner and with the Road Commission. They have money specifically set aside for this drain So we'd be able to kind of use multiple angles to get funding for that. But your question's well taken. To me, that's the linchpin in that project. It's the start of the problem, right?
So that, am I understanding that that's actually like the third tier to this whole project? That the dealing with the culverts and that road crossing, that is something separate than what you were talking about and what the other grant is talking about funding as far as the pavilion?
Thank you, yes.
Okay, so there are three different aspects to this. So are there discussions underway right now with that?
Yes, there are. And those-
Okay,
Thank you. They're with Consumers Energy, so for partial funding for that, and also with the Newaygo County Drain Commissioner.
okay,
Having discussions with him as well.
okay.
That to me is kind of a linchpin. It's an
Yeah.
important piece of this. Why would we want to continue damage when it's done? When we destroy the downstream.
Right. Right.
And Marty, correct me if I'm wrong, because when we met with Consumers, and was it reps from Eagle or was it reps from Eagle, yeah. They were talking about as part of the river, I'm just going to call it the river, that the elements to raise the water up to go through the culvert, correct, were a part of that initial design. So it's like they weren't completely separate. Their idea of a fix just wasn't our idea of a fix. So that's where then that conversation opened up with then the Road Commission, Drain Commission, and Consumers, because Consumers was not interested in necessarily footing the whole bill, but if it could be bundled in with other funding sources like from the Road Commission, Drain Commission, then that could be something that was done concurrently with the other project. Like it becomes all part of that
That's
same
right.
project.
They wanted, just because of liability issues and other scheduling issues, they wanted the Road Commission to be responsible if there's a place for doing the scheduling, any road closures and some of the logistical work instead of them, because the Road Commission obviously makes more sense for
Yep.
experiences.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, that drain, that culvert has been at the heart of every conversation. It's not a Band-Aid. We don't want a Band-Aid. We want to fix it. We want to make it so that it's not a problem down the road. And it will be beneficial to the stream and Hess Lake and all of the surrounding areas.
And I was interested even when we were walking around there, the fish communities, and fish can't be passed right now. It'd be nice to have those fish be able to go up farther into that system. So that's one of the exciting pieces too of replacing that culvert to me.
Yeah.
Sure.
I also really like kind of that trail component to it. 40 acres is a nice piece of land to work with, and that stream goes in, maybe 1/4 of it. So then utilizing the remaining portions of the space just becomes an add-on for more programming, more exploration, whether it's creating the trails, whether it's identifying things along the trail. And we haven't even started talking about the historical component of this and the Dream project and the DNR's involvement back, when all of this was happening. And so there's a lot of layers to explore within this 140-acre property, which is really cool.
Amazing. It used to flow into the Rogue River watershed instead of the Muskegon, isn't it?
Yeah, he used to go the other direction.
Strange.
So.
All right, anything else? All right, thanks, Marty.
Thank you, Marty.
Thank you for
Marty.
your time.
Wait, before you walk away, just curious, what are we looking at for like the total project cost? And how much of it are we looking at as a district?
When all said and done with the culvert and with the bank, it would be over $1 million.
So over $1 million.
Yeah, so the benefits for me would be, we've done some preliminary estimates, but it's measured really in tons of sand that would not be released downstream. And we've done significant nitrogen and phosphorus as well, going downstream of those lakes.
And of that $1 million, really, our district is looking at what? Zero?
No cost to the district.
No cost.
That's what was so exciting to us.
Yep.
This project had to be a mitigation solution. That's what
Yep.
being able to
thank you for that suggestion.
Thank you, Marty.
Thank you.
All right, that brings us to the CAC report.
Good evening. I'm Jennifer Howell, Clinical Operations Director for Family Healthcare, and I just appreciate the opportunity tonight to give a brief report for our Child and Adolescent Health Center, which we call CAC. We've really taken advantage of the opportunity to share information monthly with Mr. Zuber and Mr. Thorne, so some of it might be a little repetitive, but it's really a great opportunity to make sure that we're communicating. So I'm just going to go ahead and start. This last month in November, the CAC and the Behavioral Health Department had 189 visits. The Medical Department, 154 visits, for a total of 343 visits. And this is a good opportunity just to step back and look at an overall year. So we can go back from December 1st, 2022 through November 30th, 2023, and get a bigger picture of what's happening in the CAC. Behavioral Health provided 1,504 visits. The Medical Department provided 1,303 visits for a total of 2,807 visits. And really what's exciting about this, during that time frame, we provided services for 630 unduplicated users. 630 individuals came into the health center and we received care for either medical and or behavioral health services at least one time. So that really opened access to our kids. So we really appreciate that. Our health center is open Monday through Friday from 7:30 to 4. It's year-round. In addition, CAC patients have access to after-hours, weekend, and on-call medical coverage, meaning that we have a family health care physician, nurse practitioner, or physician assistant on call all times, so parents can call if they have any medical concerns. We're hoping to keep kids out of the urgent care and ER and giving their treatment timely. And during this time, there's access to translation services, even in after hours when you can call. Highlights the medical team asked me to bring forward is the medical team has been extremely busy with well child visits. They performed 213 well child visits since June. As we know, well child visits are incredibly important in promoting the physical, mental, and social health of children, adolescents, and young adults. And regular well child visits are the standard practice that helps parents and children and providers identify and address developmental, behavioral, and health concerns. And this happens through measurements, screens, tests, and physical exams at the visit. And this is the goal of preventing chronic health issues when that child gets older. So that's a main focus. And this is also an excellent time to provide information, guidance, and resources. But the most important part of a well child visit is developing a trusting, caring relationship between the parent and guardian, the child, and the healthcare team. Since we provide a large volume of sports physicals during our well child visits, at the completion of the visit, the CAC also provides some kind of incentive such as a water bottle or Nike socks, but this is really to promote physical activity. The medical team also asked that I present that over the last month there's been an increase in respiratory infections and timely access to medical provider, including treatment if needed, but also those other pieces such as education with just standard infection control measures that we all have to watch, especially in schools, covering your cough, just basic cleaning, and just hoping to prevent that from spreading through the schools. For the state of Michigan, 7th grade students are required to be up to date on 2 vaccines. The first one is diphtheria, tetanus, and pertussis, and the second one is the meningococcal vaccine. And school staff have referred students who are behind on these immunizations to the CAC, and they have done this by outreaching to the parents and guardians. In working with the school and parents and guardians of the students, Grant CAC was able to assist bringing students up to date on their well child visits and immunizations. In Grant, 7th grade immunization rates for their DTaP and meningococcal improved from 63% to 96%. And for this to occur, the students had to be enrolled in the CAC with parental consent for CAC services and also parental consent for immunizations. Our behavioral health team report, behavioral health, we have 2 full-time behavioral health providers on site to see patients. This is double our program minimum requirement requirements from Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, but necessary to meet the demands and needs in a timely fashion for services. We had the pleasure of adding Ashley Carpenter, who is a master social worker, to our team this last September, and she's been a great addition. Other outreach activities, the Vision Department for Family Health Care has provided mobile optometry services in the beginning of September, and they had 16 students enrolled from the ages 6 to 13, and they enrolled for comprehensive vision exams. 10 of those students were in class or in school on that day, and 5 of the 10 students were found to have a refractive error, meaning that they're nearsighted or farsighted, and one student was found to need correction in that and was given glasses. They were ordered and delivered to the Grant PAC, so they were able to pick them up. And as we know, routine vision exams for school-age children are an important piece of the educational puzzle. Uncorrected refractive errors and visual dysfunctions can lead to poor learning outcomes and behavioral health problems. From our dental team, Family Health Care's dental department provided dental outreach services to ages 5 through 9 at the Grant Primary and Grant Elementary buildings. During the week of September 18th, 87 kids enrolled in our mobile dental outreach, and of those 87 kids, 72 were provided dental exams, 54 cleanings, and 28 received sealants. Continuing with more outreach, the CAC staff participated in the 7th and 8th grade after-school Halloween costume party. They assisted with tickets and handing out treats. Highlights from the CAC team, besides the event, they received a very nice thank you note from the 8th grade leadership group for their participation and assistance. And I think the last update that I have to offer is tomorrow is our Grant Community Advisory Council. And for our Michigan Department of Health, and Human Service, we are required to post that in the newspaper at least 1 week in advance, and it's open to the public. And this year, the staff had asked the school to also post it on their website to make sure that it's also located there, a little bit more options to see that meeting. The meeting will take place in the peer coach room in the Grant Middle School from 12 to 1 tomorrow. And to access the meeting, please make sure that everybody goes through we're asking everybody to go through the middle school office instead of the CAC. And the CAC also has a Zoom link for those who want to attend by Zoom, and just calling the CAC, they'll really get that number or that link.
Thank you. Any questions?
I have a question for you. Would you mind providing the stats that you have there? You mind providing us a copy of that, and that we can include that in our minutes and that, so we can, look back on it and so forth?
I definitely will. I do provide that every month to Mr. Zuber, Mr. Thorne, and I'll be providing it by the end of the week. Would that be sufficient?
Sure, that's fine.
Okay, I just try to do it before the 15th of every month.
Sure, not a problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? All
No,
right.
just thank you for all your great
report.
work.
Good job.
Thank you. All right, that takes us to our reports, administrators' reports. Carol Dawson.
Good evening. So just to piggyback off that report from the Child and Adolescent Health Center, there have been 2 things that I just thought were remarkable for us too during that time that they were doing the vision checks. There was a little kiddo who got some different special needs, and it was just great to be able to assist him to get there, or the dental visit, to get him there and have him have that experience in a safe, normal spot where his teachers were and his adults were. And then the dentists that were there just said, that's all we want. We just wanted him to come, open his mouth, and not be afraid. And so it was a really low incident for a high incident student generally. So that was really amazing. And then we have a pretty significant situation going on right now with learning a new device for a student who has a medical condition, and Brett from the Child and Adolescent Health Center is coming over to work with us on Friday to give us some training, which is really amazing because that is really hard to find medical training that will come to you. And so just a shout out to those guys for being so helpful for us when those unique situations come up. So then on to a couple of other things. We have our MTSS team, which is that multi-tiered system of supports. We had 4 of our team members go to Chip Hills this past week under the invitation with Bernard Brown, who's working at NC RISA, and we were able to go over there and see some of the stuff that they're doing with different forms that they're using, data collection systems, win time, which is what everyone needs, but it's a direct link to PLCs, effective PLC work. And so it was really well prepared for us. And the team that went came back today and shared with our team today some of the things that they saw. And it just continues to feed our process to grow systems and written programs and procedures in place at Grant PC and Elementary. So just a big shout out to Chip Hills for welcoming us, and they did a nice job presenting. This past week, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, I was able to attend the conference called MEMSPA, which is Middle and Elementary School Principal Association. So I was able to go to Traverse City for 3 days of training and just got to absorb a lot of different pieces out there in the principal life, connect with other principals. I really, they had 3 great keynote speakers, and a lot of that was on social emotional pieces. And then we did some learning around the AI piece and how that will impact some of that life at school and kind of the beginning stages of that, which I thought was really interesting. And just some data collection pieces too, which I'm always interested in learning that piece. You can collect data until you're blue in the face, but if you don't know what to do with it, it's really just a pile of paper. So that was helpful for us too. So the other thing is we are doing our coin drive right now. We do that every year to help fund our warm and toasty closet. So any student who doesn't have adequate warm and toasty clothing can just reach out to one of our social workers, or their families can, and we help supply them with that kind of clothing for the year. And a lot of times it'll be families that are coming from out of state to come back, and they just don't know what Michigan winter really looks like yet. And if you've been shopping for kids' clothing, if you don't get it right at the beginning, it's awfully hard to find right now. So we're happy to provide that for our students. And then I think that is it for right now. So happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? I do have one for you. Is there a goal for the coin drive? How much you want to try and raise?
Yeah, we set the goal for $1,000 between all 5 grades, and if they reach that level together, which they always do, we have a pajama day on the day before break. So just a fun way to end the year, really, before we come back after break.
Just wondering how much the grandkids are going to be trying to steal the change out of my pockets.
Honestly, it's always kindergarten that wins, because it's the first year that those parents dump their coin jar in there. So it's often kindergarten that wins that particular. Oh, and I didn't mention too that in the notes, when we did our canned food drive, we collected 2,852 pounds of food. And that is remarkable. I looked back on one of our past newsletters, and we had previously collected like 700 and some pounds. So I know that I've shared with you before the milk and nuggets silly things that we're doing, but really interesting that we did a couple of episodes around food collecting and how much more we collected. It's just been really fun to see that, and fun for the kids to engage through that. So another success from Milk and Nuggets.
There we go.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you.
You're building quite the audience with that, so I like to see the results come from it. It's cool.
Mr. Aiken.
Sorry, just reporting up there. We don't have one day, we have 12 days of fun in our building. We're dressing the 12 days of Christmas, so I'm getting old and I'm losing track. Tomorrow is dressed like Santa.
No competition there, huh?
No, we like to win. We're doing a coin drive also, and we don't have a limit. Just if the classroom gets 100, just Justin and I get to have an apple pie in the face. So I kind of have a feeling we're going to have 20 classrooms over $100, would be my guess. The kids are already, I think we've got one classroom up over 142, so I look for a rough day on the 19th. Our leadership class will be putting on an assembly on December 19th for the morning. That's where the coach there, the teachers will play the kids in volleyball and basketball. And that's where we're going to probably have a lot of pie eating going on. Tonight, our peer coaches are out doing their caroling. They do that every year. That's kind of a tradition that Teresa Farley started. So our kids are out in the community doing that. And on a somber note, we started our MAPS testing last week. We started with reading last week. They ended up, we started math today. I did not have anybody crying in my office. So we made it through one day. We split the test up over 2 days, 20 questions each day. Technology went great for the most part. Kids were able to log on, and that's always, kind of our concern when we just sell out and, hey, we're going to do MAPS testing today. You always worry about that, but Tim and John did a great job with that. Last week, Sarah Simon took a group of 7th graders down to Calvin University, or college. From all reports back, it was a good trip. Kids enjoyed themselves. And our 7th grade staff will be providing a Christmas breakfast on the 18th to our 7th graders. It's kind of a tradition. Kristen Arsenal started years ago, and we'll be doing that this year on Monday the 18th. So, any questions?
Questions, anybody? All right. Thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Hagan.
All right.
Mr. Simon.
Right, just about Christmas time. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yay.
Merry
So
Christmas.
along
Yay.
with the coin drive of all the other buildings, we did our delay the day a couple weeks ago, so it's our 4th hour. Students bring in coins, the teacher has to count it before class can actually begin. So the reward of that is that our student council today went and shopped for 64 families and 143 kids in our community that needed some extra support. So they go shopping for specific kids, they come back, they get it wrapped up, and then we have people in the community that have asked for that to, they come in and pick it up. We met with grade levels this past week, and we just talked about, just being that decent human being, especially during this time of the year where Christmas is always my favorite time because I have very fond memories. But when you talk about a building with 500 students, not everybody has those same memories. So we just talked about showing that grace to everybody that we come in contact with, because we just don't know what they're going through. So I think the students accepted that really well, and I was just really proud of the student council and the money they raised. And then they took money from their own fund, for homecoming. We bring in money, and they took money from that fund just to help support all of the families that asked for it in our community. So big kudos to our kids, great staff. Track Sweat led that today. Proud Michigan Educator came on 11/28, that's through Michigan Department of Education, and their highlight was cello, growing our own. They interviewed cello, Sarah Simon, Joe Skydema, kids. Cello is a unique, amazing individual that has a fantastic story, and we're so blessed to have him. I think one of the great things that he does for our kids is our Spanish 2 kids, it's not just book Spanish, they're going down to the lower levels, and our kids are creating children's books that they are then reading to kids in the lower levels. So he's a fantastic individual and well-deserving. MPE was very impressed with the adults and the kids that they interviewed, so big kudos to our district. Final exams are this Friday and then Monday and Tuesday, so it's the first time that we've ended our semester before Christmas, but our students are looking forward to that nice clean break where not necessarily exams, but they finish the semester and they can go and enjoy Christmas break. This week, choir and band concerts. Choir on Tuesday, band on Thursday. Get here early. This place will be packed. Lucas Spears and Bill DeYoung are doing an amazing job on top of their musical rehearsals in the evening. So Tuesdays and Thursdays, 6 o'clock this week. Get here, or you'll be standing along the side along with many other people. So that's what I've got. Be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Mr. Simon?
No, just a comment. I think it's amazing that you are getting the students involved with helping others, and to have that number of families and kids that you're providing something special for, something they may not have otherwise, and get that buy-in from the students is amazing.
Yeah.
So well done. Keep that up.
All right. Thank you, Mr.
Band
Simon.
is a choir tomorrow night and
Choir-
a band on
choir
Thursday?
Tuesday,
6
band on
o'clock.
Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah, 6 o'clock.
Thanks, Dan.
All right. Mr. Zuber.
All right, just going to echo a lot of what was already said between those three. So Yeah, with the food collection of just under 3,000 pounds is just amazing. So well done, PC and Elementary. At the high school, Classroom Learning Lab has been scheduled for January 9th. That will combine English and social studies. Great to have some cross-curricular professional development together. That's pretty exciting. So that's something to look forward to when they get back, and again aligns with our strategic plan. Winter sports are up and running. Lots of competitions and games happening already. We are hosting varsity sports-wise. Our boys and girls hoops are going to be here Friday night, so both teams are off to excellent starts. So if you're around, come on out and check that out. Again, reiterating, Christmas and holiday concerts are this week. Vocal music tomorrow night at 6. Band Thursday at 6. One thing, thanks to Officer Visser for coordinating the Christmas tree fundraiser, which is to help raise money for students and families that we have here in need that may encounter a crisis, personal crisis. We've had, unfortunately, a lot of tough things happen to our students here this school year already, and it seems like over the last couple of years we've had some hard things we've had to deal with, and he wanted to find a way to raise some money to help do that, so Christmas tree decorating. I know, Sabrina, you helped a lot with that as well, so thank you for doing that. But I believe he had reported that there's a little over $7,000 that was raised to help our students in need, and it may be if they need to, a family needs to stay in a hotel room for a few nights, or needs clothing, or needs, you fill in the blank. That's what that's for. So a wonderful thing, and again, thinking of others is a great thing. Again, Mr. Simon mentioned Cello Santana, featured by the Michigan Department of Education. We've got a lot of good things happening here, and it's just really exciting for him and for everybody else. All of our buildings have been partnering on Thursdays to promote the Be Nice program and philosophy. Notice, Invite, Challenge, and Empower. So if you see either black T-shirts or kind of hot pink T-shirts around that say Be Nice, that's what that's for. It is a program that was founded in West Michigan, and it's just a very good reminder to everybody about how to treat one another and how we need to behave in schools. So it's cool, just because on Thursdays the last few weeks, every time in every building, a large percentage of students and staff are wearing the shirts. Shirts were provided by all of our counselors and social workers got together and organized this, so it's a very cool thing. We will also be working with the West Michigan program, I Understand Love Heals, to help students and staff process and deal with grief from their losses. Thanks to Nicole Klomp, she's of the Newaygo Police Department, and Officer Visser for partnering with us to make this happen to support our students and families in need. It's a West Michigan program again, and is specifically for helping students and families deal with loss. And again, unfortunately, we've had a few students who have had this happen to them just in the last couple of weeks, and we want to offer all the support we can. So we're excited to partner with them. And last thing, had a Maven meeting today, Maven update with Cy Nake, who's the creator, the CEO, the brains behind that, and a couple of his people. Met in Josh Delamatter's classroom. Tricia Skidema was there as well as a high school counselor, and just the quantum leap forward this has had for us, that is going to have. It was just a sneak peek of what's coming. It's already a great thing that our students use for career development. It's like nothing I've seen before with being able to incorporate some of the artificial intelligence capabilities. I know just as a something they've built in is any teacher or counselor or any school employee can do a quick video, and there's 20 different languages that it can, within a minute, completely translate to, so that will help our students where English is a second language. It will print things out it will create questions about the video, things for students to work on, things for teachers to work on, can help with lesson planning, and have it done, again, a variety of different languages. So it's going to really help our teachers and help a lot of our students who may need a little extra help or have an IEP that maybe they need a little extra time on things. It's amazing. It's really an amazing thing. It's a game changer. And a lot of interest from the state of Michigan's state superintendent, Dr. Michael Rice, in this as well. And it's just, again, it's an interesting thing that Grant Public Schools is leading the charge with this. Cy came up, he lives in Indianapolis, lives outside of Indianapolis, who's the CEO and the brains behind all of this, and is just blown away by all the work our staff has done and our students have done, and all of the input that they have taken to really help shape what this is going to be. And again, and I mentioned this before, that Google Education globally had recognized this and has joined 100% with them. So a lot of these updates were made possible by Google being able to fund and help with a lot of these changes. And it's like nothing I've ever seen. And I'm literally just skimming the surface of what this is going to be able to do for our students and our staff. So it's very exciting, very exciting. And that was just this afternoon from 3:30 until about 10 to 5. So that's why I was cutting it close getting here for our 5 o'clock meeting. But yeah, just great things. And being on the cutting edge of things like that is a pretty neat thing for our staff. So they've done a great job with that. Does anybody have any questions?
Am I allowed to actually, because I just thought of a question actually for Mr. Simon?
Yeah.
Did I miss my window, or can
No,
I don't think you missed the window. I can relay.
I got nothing for you.
Okay.
That's good, thank you. Sorry, but some of the things that you mentioned triggered something that you brought up briefly and put into our packet for last board meeting, and that was the Learning Center idea, for a innovative learning center, possibly looking at a physical brick and mortar space and doing that. Not putting you on the spot now, but I would be interested in hearing more, and was wondering if that might be something that you and your team, or whoever, who's been kind of playing around with this idea and working on this, if you could maybe share something with us sometime in the new year. Again, when it makes sense for you, but I didn't want to I almost forgot, but I didn't want to forget about that, to at least acknowledge, thank you for putting it in here. And and I know that it selfishly it helps also with learning, but also helps with student count and numbers, and more access. So if at some point, whenever it makes sense in 2024, it would be great to hear more about it. Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Hey, Dan, I believe it was you at the last meeting, you mentioned how the students are struggling. It just seemed like there's a lack of hope or some darkness in that. Would you mind coming up and addressing that a little bit further, or if you've seen a change in the last month, would you mind coming up and addressing that? Yeah.
While Dan's walking up, Brett, I did have one question. The spotlight about cello.
Yeah.
Where can people go and see that?
It's not done yet. They just did the filming the week after Thanksgiving, but it will be on the Michigan Department of Education's website. I'll send a link out to everybody as soon as it's done.
Will we have the ability to put that on our website as well?
Oh, yeah. We'll post the link, and we can do that.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I know I'm putting you on the spot, but I just found that very important and intriguing when it was just said in passing, but I think we need to zero in on that.
I think different than any other year, a lot of our freshmen struggle emotionally, behaviorally, and academically.
Okay.
And when they start to get to the high school, there's a new process, for example, final exams. There's a new process of having to pass your classes in order to move on. Not to mention just that this year we've been struck, it seems like at the high school, with families that have lost loved ones. And then that, we're a close-knit family, and a lot of times the families are impacted by other families and their relationship. There's cousins, there's aunts, there's uncles. So it just seems like as we've started out this year, that sense of hopelessness has been very apparent when we talk to kids. So we have Tricia Skydemont, we have Tammy Sullivan that do a great job as well. We don't have a behavior specialist right now that we once had. We've reached out to NC Resa. They've allowed us to use somebody. They come in, not every day, but on Thursdays they're in our building. The other days of the week they're in other buildings, just helping to support and at times put a Band-Aid on some of our kids. A lot of times they just need that opportunity to get that out. And at no fault to the parents are trying to get students into counseling, but it's really difficult for them to travel to when they can get a counseling appointment available, whether it's Grand Rapids or Muskegon. Even in Nuevo, it's really difficult, so the more opportunities they have in-house to speak to a professional and develop a plan for their behavior, emotional, or academics with us, it's just super important. So I think that we're starting to turn and see some more hope there. The more times that we meet with our grade levels and we share personal communications with them, and we share stories of our own growing up, that sometimes life really is just hard, and sometimes in life you feel like it's just yourself, and when you're 14, 15, 17, 25, whatever age, sometimes you feel like you're the only one going through a situation, but in reality, the more that we get to share that with our kids, that, hey, when I was growing up, this is the way I felt too. There were times where I felt alone, and even though I was on a basketball team, sometimes I did feel hopeless and feel like everybody was looking at me and the world was on me. So I think that we are beginning to have more hope with our kids. Maybe it's this time of year, maybe it's just the support that we have from within, but there is certainly a level of hopelessness that we started out with, it seems like at the beginning of this school year, and I hope that we're starting to turn that corner a little bit more.
Okay, thanks. I appreciate
And
it.
on that note, I think that's why the initiatives that each of you have talked about that bring the school, the student body together as a community for the greater good of, maybe not just themselves, but the community as a whole, help kind of foster that, that experience.
It takes a village, and when you're
Yep.
a teenager, and sometimes life is just really difficult.
Yeah. So the Be Nice, that's where the Be Nice program and that comes into huge benefits for that.
And when we were meeting with the grade levels, we said Be Nice it's like a mini company that we have within our high school there, where we're selling coffee and we're selling some baked goods, but really what Be Nice does beyond that is they take all of those funds, and we told the grade levels, all of those funds come back to you, students, because what they do is they create ideas, they create new concepts, and then they try to put them in place so that we have more opportunities to notice each other and provide that hope. Because really, what we've told this past month, last week, was you are all really close to students here, and you're more closer to your students than necessarily the adults are. So when you notice that, that's the first opportunity that we have to really make a big difference in the lives of each other. Notice that, and then take the next steps.
Sure. And it's great when staff buys in, sets that example. So kudos to everyone.
Well, and that's a thing we talk about too a lot is our staff is amazing, whether it's our support staff, our office staff, custodians, food service, transportation, teachers, you name it, if every student, that's a goal, if every student has somebody that's a go-to adult for them, that they feel comfortable talking to, and again, because it's impossible for our handful of counselors and social workers to service everybody. But it's amazing to see Mr. Simon and Mr. Skidema talking to kids in the hallway. Dr. Chuck's here. He's at lunches a lot, talking to kids and just really connecting at all the buildings, the teachers, the principals. And Laura, I see talking to kids all the time as well. Yeah, it's amazing. And just to be able to have somebody that they can rely on, and it doesn't have to always be heavy stuff, but just somebody that they can talk to about stuff and life, and it doesn't have to always be just math or science. So I think our staff does an amazing job with that. So thank you to everybody, all of our staff members for doing that.
Yep, absolutely.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, Mr. Simon. Yeah, on that note, I'll just reiterate, I think that's, one of the really cool things about having Officer Visser in the schools, and, he's just another person for kids to talk to and go to when they're having a tough time, so. All right, that takes us to unfinished business. Anybody? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry, I skipped ahead. Finance Committee report. Sabrina.
Thank you.
Yep.
Finance Committee had an open meeting on November 30th. We were joined by two of our community members, Lindsay and Missy's. Thank you both for coming. The items reviewed were as followed. We went over student enrollment for the fall of 2023 is 1,540 compared to a budget of $1,618. But I did have a suggestion was made, and I have some questions to follow through with that, but I'm going to come back to that after I get through the rest of it, if that's okay.
Yep.
Is that okay with everybody?
Yep.
Okay. Legal fees as of October, $56,650. 1/3 of that being $18,883 resulted in OCR complaints and FOIA requests filed by community and non-community members. That includes follow-up on those. $37,767 were contract negotiations with the CAHC and general matters. How this compares to other years, we showed a slideshow on that. Well, just a comparison of years prior. 2022-23 school year was $37,684.36. 21-22 school year was $46,873.37. That included a bond proposal on that. Admin and department leaders cost savings plan for the fiscal year. Budget timeline being in mid-December. Finance director will meet with each department building admin to review the budget amendments at that time in mid-December. Correct, Holly? Thank you. There was a new grant for the 23-24 school year, being the school safety and school mental health, section 31AA, estimated at $220 a student. Community survey was sent out in November, on November 20th concerning that new grant. The next finance committee meeting will be at the end of January, beginning of February, to review the budget amendment. I'm going back to the student enrollment. There was a suggestion made that we had considered reaching out to our Christian school and homeschool kids to see if there was any possibility of offering like an online course for them and or even in person, like joining us for STEAM. My question was, I know there's a big issue that's going on with, and I know it's not so much ours, but MHSAA, how homeschoolers must be enrolled in nearly 70% of a full-time student's course load to participate in local district sports. Is there any way that we can incorporate a program that, if they're doing online courses and we're getting pupil count for that, they're meeting that criteria and able to still join us for sports?
That's an MHSAA rule.
Okay.
You know, that's
that part I knew, but
yep.
I mean, would we be able to get them
To get them here 70% of the time, we can try. Yeah, we could try. And that would just be, we could get creative with that, for sure, and just see.
As long as we can try to get creative.
Right.
I say we try to get creative.
Yep.
I know Sparta does.
Yep.
That was my only question.
Okay.
That was my only question.
All right. Any questions about the Finance Committee report? All right. Sabrina, can you make sure that you have are you going to give a copy of
I'll
that?
give the whole thing.
Okay.
No, I'll just give it.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. That moves us on to unfinished business. Is there any unfinished business that the board needs to discuss?
I have a couple things. In the October and November meeting, I have noted, Brett, we had asked if you could look into getting quotes regarding logging the property there.
I couldn't hear you.
The logging the
Yeah.
property.
Yep.
Have you been able to do that?
Yeah,
Okay.
we got an email back from, I don't remember the name of the organization, but it's the Newaygo County, whatever, that handles a lot of West Michigan stuff, and they want to send somebody over and set up a meeting, but they're very interested in helping us with that.
Okay, is there a time set when they're going to go do that?
No, he said he's stretched very, very thin right now, and will
Okay.
get back to me.
Okay.
Yep.
And then the other second thing was the yellow envelope assessment. We had asked for a copy of that. Did you send that out?
No, I thought so, but I can double check. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like I remember seeing that.
I thought I can double check, and I can send
your
it
Friday
again.
updates.
Yep,
I
I
feel
thought I
like
had.
after.
Yeah, I thought I'd attached a couple
Okay.
things on our Friday updates after
Okay.
that, but I can send it again. That's
All right,
okay.
thank you.
All right. Anything else for unfinished business?
I think we've covered, where the only other two really were the bylaws and then ongoing property, and you've had, right? Is there any other
Yeah, I don't
initiatives?
think there was anything else. So, okay. All right. Good to move into consent agenda, everybody? All right. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda, please?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, so we have a motion.
Support.
Motion by Rich, support by Sabrina. Okay. All right, any discussion? No discussion on the consent agenda? All in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. All right, motion approved. All right, takes us down to action items. Action item A1, approval of fourth grade out-of-state trip.
Yeah. Requesting for fourth grade students to experience traveling out of state. We've done this many, many years. Same trip as last year to Shedd Aquarium in Chicago. Trip will occur in May of 2025. It will be scheduled from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Details were provided about the trip. Unless you want me to read all this stuff, I can, but you guys had this last Friday. It's a great thing. It's a really fun thing. I know kids love it. Chaperones really have a good time. It's just a really neat opportunity for our students to see something different and get to a big city. You know, to a lot of our students, Grand Rapids is a big city. And so this is a whole different ballgame for them, and to get to see some pretty cool things.
Okay, so can I get a motion to approve the out-of-state trip?
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Rob, second by Rachel. Any questions or comments on the out-of-state trip?
I think it's great. One area to consider in future years that I don't know, thinking of that big city, kind of that 4-hour window, the Detroit Science Center is rated one of the best science centers in the country. It might be worth kind of checking that out sometime. I know some people have worked there, and it's a pretty cool place. So the Shedd is pretty amazing, but if the Shedd, people get kind of tired of going to the same place year in and year out, that might be something to consider as well. And I don't know how many of our students get over to Detroit either, so.
It's actually so full, it takes longer than the amount of time that we have, so Shedd kind of fit into that.
Sure.
Perfect amount of time, but yeah, I mean, there's some great stuff in Detroit as well.
Yeah. But yeah, I think this is great that you're getting out of the area to experience.
Any other discussion on the out-of-state trip? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. All right, motion passes. Recommendation for student expulsion.
Yeah, student number 810-590-2348 assaulted another student without provocation. Other student made no attempt to fight back, and this did not deter the aforementioned student from continuing. Recommendation is the student be expelled from Grant Public Schools for the remainder of the school year.
Okay, can I get a motion, please?
Make a motion.
Rich made the motion, Danette supported. All right, any questions about this one? That's quite a bit of restraint to not try and fight back.
Yes, and it was on video, and I actually saw it, and as did Officer Visser and Mr. Simon. Never mind, I can't say which school it's in, but we did see it, and it was bad. Yeah, it was bad.
Okay. All right, no discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Okay, passes. All right, that takes us down to finance, approval of the treasurer's report. Can I get a motion on that, please?
So moved.
Support.
I have a motion by Rachel and second by Sabrina. All right. Any discussion about the treasurer's report?
Any questions?
Anything specific that you would choose to share on this one?
I could say we had $1.8 million worth of expenses go up just this month.
Quite a bit. All right, no discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. That motion passes. Approval of the general fund summary. Can I get a motion on that, please?
So moved.
Support. Sabrina and Rob. Okay. Any discussion or points that you want to make on this, Holly?
Just that right now, our deficit is 2.6 million, just the way the expenses and revenue come in right now, and that's why we do have to have a borrowing of 1.2 million because of that flow there. And I do put an explanation of everything that's over a percentage during this kind of month. There was only 5 variances compared to the budget, basically because there needs a budget amendment or just the flow again of the fiscal year.
Okay.
Holly, do we go through a process that where we as the board, do you present the board amendments and then we go through and approve each of those amendments?
It will be, like, right now I'm going through each admin right now for their kind of input, if there's any adjustments needed. And then there'll be a finance committee meeting with that. That will be open to the public. And then there'll be a presentation to the board meeting. Probably, you usually do it in March.
Okay.
I've had it in February, so I put either one, whatever works better, February, March, for our First Amendment.
Thank you.
Any other questions about the general fund summary? All right. All in favor of the approval of the general fund summary, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Approval of resolution to affirm the acceptance and signing of a local grant. So we need a motion to discuss that, please.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so Rachel and Rich. Anybody interested in reading that resolution?
I will.
Okay.
Grant Public Schools Board of Education, resolution to affirm acceptance and signing of a local grant. Whereas local grants are applied for and when awarded need to be accepted with the signature of the board president. And whereas the signing of the acceptance letter is an official board action. And whereas at the November 13th, 2023 regular board meeting, a local grant acceptance letter was signed by the board president. Now therefore be it resolved, Grant Public Schools Board of Education hereby affirms and approves the acceptance of the local grant as signed by the board president on November 13th, 2023.
So just to clarify, this was a grant letter that was set in front of me during the last board meeting or just before the last board meeting. And Holly, if you can clarify for me, what specifically was that grant for?
It was from the Fremont Community Foundation. I don't recall what it was specifically, but
Okay.
I did not push that onto the Fremont Foundation yet because I was waiting for the board approval.
Right, okay, so that was put there, I signed that, didn't even really think about it. It's like, wait a minute, we've got to actually have board approval for that. So this resolution is simply to affirm the approval or the acceptance, the signing of that, and this will allow Holly to actually pass that acceptance letter on to Fremont Area Community Foundation. So, any discussion on this resolution? Any questions about it? So this one
So will this be a resolution with each and every grant opportunity that we have coming in?
We actually have another one that actually applies to that.
The next one on
The next one on the list actually
Okay.
applies to that.
Okay.
This one is specifically for
that one that happened in November.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Any other questions about that? All right. All in favor of adopting this resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. All right, resolution passes. Danette, do you have a copy of that you can sign then, please? Thank you. All right, so the next item is we need a motion to approve a resolution to authorize the board president to assign awards. So we need a motion and a second on this one as well.
So moved.
Support.
Who gave the second on that? I'm sorry. Rob did? Okay. All right. Anyone want to read this one? Sabrina, you did such a great job the last time.
Grant Public Schools Board of Education resolution to authorize the board president to sign acceptance letters for grants awarded to GPS. Whereas grants are an important source of funding for GPS, and whereas when grants are awarded to GPS, the acceptance of such grants may be time sensitive, and whereas when grants are awarded to GPS, the acceptance of such grants may require the signature of the board president and the board officers. Now therefore, be it resolved, Grant Public Schools Board of Education hereby authorizes the board president to sign the acceptance letter or documentation for grants. And be it further resolved, Grant Public Schools Board of Education hereby authorizes the board secretary to sign the acceptance letter or documentation for grants awarded to GPS. And be it further resolved, all grants accepted and signed by the board president will be brought to the attention of the board at the next regular meeting, either in the superintendent update or the finance update. And be it further resolved, the authority granted herein shall expire on 1/30/2025 if not extended by formal motion and approval of a board vote.
Any questions on this one?
So basically, this is enabling for the grants to move through faster, especially when it's required that they have to meet a certain time
Correct.
frame.
Yes, yeah, so this is a single motion, Rob, to your point, that would allow the president and the board secretary to sign these when these acceptance letters come in and not have to wait until the next board meeting. So those could be dealt with in a timely manner and then moved on. I personally would see this being something that we should probably address at each organizational meeting, just for that next year, unless for some reason we wanted to adopt a policy, but without a policy, this just simply gives that authority to the board president, whoever the board president is, and the board secretary. Questions or comments on this one? No? Okay. All in favor of accepting the resolution to authorize the board president to sign acceptance letters for grants awarded to GPS, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Okay. Motion passes. Thank you. All right. Approval of replacement of iPads for the high school. Can we get a motion on that to discuss that one, please?
So moved.
Support.
So Rich and Sabrina. Okay. Mr.
All right.
Zuber?
Yeah. Mr. Williams had sent that board is being asked to approve the purchase of replacement devices for students at the high school for the 23-24 school year to continue with the one-to-one device program. These will replace the older devices at the high school. The current high school iPads were purchased in 2017, 5 years ago, all of a sudden almost 6, and should be replaced. Cost for 500 devices will not exceed $296,475. We'll be using the REMC pricing program, Regional Educational Media Center, and statewide, that's a statewide cooperative purchasing program, and the project will be fully funded by grant money through ESSER 3.
Do we still charge a deposit to the kids at the beginning of the school year?
I don't know.
No?
I don't, I
Okay.
I don't think we do.
No, I think what it is now is you're penalized if you don't turn in stuff, because I always know that the cord, there are a lot of tense moments trying to find the power cord.
So is the fund that was there when it used to be charged, has that been depleted, or?
And if we're purchasing 500 devices, are we replacing 500, or are we adding additional devices to that?
From what I understand, it's a replacement.
Okay.
Because the last time they were purchased was in 2017.
That's
Okay.
ancient in technology
Oh, right.
terms.
So my question is then, what happens with the old devices that are being replaced?
Mr. Will, they have refurbishing programs. They can give.
Mr. Atwood.
Oh, right
back
there,
said
Mr.
that he
Atwood.
would be
You might be able to
share.
answer better than me.
Okay.
And refurbish and, yeah, so.
So kind of like a recycling program.
Okay.
And then will that money go towards?
We get a
these?
couple back. That's going to be paid for with grant money, but it'll help, it'll come back, yeah, to our tech department. And I don't even know how much we get per, do you? I don't even know. It's minimal,
Yeah.
but it adds up, yeah. Yeah.
Is there a time frame on this?
As soon as possible, yeah.
Are these would these be put in place still this year or next year?
As soon as possible this year, yeah.
They
He's
would
hoping
be
to
put
get
in
them
place this
Yep.
year.
Yep, 23-24 school year.
So hopefully when I get back from.
Yeah, it just depends on how fast, it depends on how fast Apple can deliver and all that stuff, but
I
it
know you
just,
gotta set 'em up,
yep,
COVID and all
there's a
that,
lot
so.
there's a lot of work to do to get them there, but if we can get an approval, they'll get on it. so.
And that's all paid for by a grant.
Yep.
Is this, am I wrong, or is this the first we're hearing of this one?
I don't know.
No, this is not. This is in the ESSER 3 grant proposal. It's been in there for, ever since, it's online. It's actually lower than what your grant was accepted at, because John does really nice work. I mean, getting what he needs at a really good price. So this amount is a lot less than what was budgeted for ESSER 3. And what was approved for a long time ago. And it does, it really does support your one-on-one device strategic plan also. So everything goes together.
Where are we with the device ages at the other schools? Because this is just high school, right?
Yes.
Where are we at with the other schools?
We just replaced the middle school last school year. What should we do with elementary PC? Probably look at the next year or so.
Any other questions about this?
Now, Holly, just for everyone to clarify, when you say approved, it was approved by the state when we submitted our list to ESSER. That's where, that's what you mean when it was approved.
And I know ESSER 3 and ESSER 2, any COVID funds was presented, especially ESSER was required to present to your community and to your board. And it's in our transparency. We have to have what's required.
Right.
Anything else? All right. All in favor of approving the purchase and replacement of the iPads for the high school, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Let's see. Approval of 31A survey results. Can I get a motion on that, please?
So moved.
Support.
So we've got Rob and Steph. All right.
Well, I'm looking at the title, it should be 31AA, two A's. It says 31AA in the memo, but it might have just been.
Yes, you are.
And it's two different funding sources.
Okay,
so.
I'm just going to add another A to my.
Yep, perfect.
My agenda there. Okay.
Yeah, we're requesting the Board of Education approve the survey results related to Section 97 and 31 AA community input data. Those grants help with mental health and wellness and school safety. And as part of a requirement to receive this grant money, we have to survey our community. And we actually had a relatively good response, I think right around 390, so just under 400 people responded, which is great. Sometimes we put out surveys and we don't get nearly that many, so this is good. Approval of these results is required to receive the grant funding. Just the board has to approve the results.
Any questions or comments about the results that we have in the packet?
Once approved, what are the next steps?
Then we can officially file, once we have this done, officially file for that grant money to start coming our way.
And we're addressing all of these survey, it's not a pick and choose from
Correct.
these.
Correct.
This is,
We just,
okay.
and
Just wanted
didn't
to
want
make
it to
sure
be a
that
20-question survey, but
Yep.
wanted to just to make sure that the school community and the community in general felt that safety and wellness was important.
Yeah.
And the results are overwhelmingly in support of that.
So this is the second time we've done this survey?
Not this survey. We've had to do surveys in the past to receive
Yep.
grant, but this is for the first time with this survey. For
Okay.
this specific.
For this funding source, gotcha. Okay. And with this, this grant funding, to kind of key off Rob's question, will we actually be able to attack everything on this list?
I think so, yeah.
Really?
Holly, if you want to add a little bit to it, there's a list on here. Oh, yeah, that's what you mentioned with the list.
Okay.
Yeah.
The last question on the survey, the vestibules, securing in each building, it's between 150,000, 200,000 to secure more on the vestibule area. So that, we could try to do one, but that would take up most of the funds.
Right.
Just to do one secure vestibule, a different kind of secure vestibule.
Right, gotcha, okay.
And that would need a capital campaign.
Yeah.
Because it's 200,000 just for one vestibule.
Yeah, it's crazy how expensive some of this stuff is.
Yeah.
But what I do like is that this addresses some of the things that we have been talking about, and we're looking in our bond proposal back in, whenever it was, 2021.
Right.
And so it's interesting to see the community's responses are very similar to what we've been trying to push,
right?
Through with bonds. So
Well,
I'm
and
happy
it'd be
that we have
nice.
some grant funding
One
opportunities.
thing I'm excited about, I guess, is the key cards.
Yeah.
That's a big thing, literally. I don't know of one other school who has metal keys still. And the nice thing about key card access is it can be programmed. If somebody gets in the building that you're unaware of, you can see whose key it is. If at 3 a.m, Brett Zuber's keys into the middle school, for some reason, you can say, okay, why in the world were you in there? And whether it was me or somebody grabbed my key, whatever, at least you can start to track and see what's going on for that. So there have been times we've had to use it where we've had to turn somebody's access off. It offers a lot more flexibility and safety that way, and ability to track things. And obviously, we get our keys. I'm sure there are a lot of keys floating around the community that open a lot of doors in our school district, just because they've been out there for a long, long time. This will change that immediately.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I know at the museum we program badges so that at certain times, so certain staff, depending on what their responsibilities are, they're not able to get in the building at 2 o'clock in the morning just on a whim. So there's a lot of built-in security options within that one element, which is great.
And I know our tech department has really been laying the groundwork for this in the hopes that this would all be able to work. So it's going to be a process.
It will happen this year, though.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
You said it will happen this year?
Yes.
Wow,
Before the
okay.
end of the school year. Or June 30th.
That's the plan. Yeah.
But you said for one vestibule.
Oh, the vestibule probably won't happen.
Okay.
There's a vestibule is that addition to.
Okay.
She was talking about remodeling an entrance.
Okay.
Yeah.
But what will happen by the end of this year is all the key access will be
The key
changed to cards
And that's over 200,000.
for everybody, for everybody.
For all 4 main
All
entrances.
buildings.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a a lot of money.
Yeah, but they're worth it, that's for sure. All right, any other comments or questions about this one? All right, so all in favor of approving the survey results, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Okay, thank you, that one passes. Let's see, we have now number 7, that is a new one that was moved out of the consent agenda, that is payment of bills. Can I get a motion on
read it
that?
first.
What's that?
Let me read the motion first.
Well, the motion, the motion is to approve the payment of bills. That's what we need a motion on.
Okay.
So I need a motion on that, please.
So moved.
Support.
Rachel and Sabrina. Okay. So, Rich, you asked for this to...
Yeah, I'd like to amend the motion to read, to accept the November payment of bills as is, pending this board's review and acceptance of checks 5170 and check 5236, along with their invoices at the January meeting. So in other words, accept the pay sheet as is, and then we can review checks 5170 and 5236 and vote on the acceptance and approval of those 2 checks in January.
What are those 2 checks?
They're in your list.
Motion to accept. Sorry, say the language of your motion again, please. Motion to accept what?
November payment of bills as is, pending this board's review and acceptance of check 5170 and check 5236, along with their invoices. In the statement sheet, it's listed multiple invoices, so I just want everybody to be able to review what those
You said
invoices are.
5170, and what's the other one?
5236, Ralph.
So I just want to be clear. I want to make sure that I'm understanding the motion. Is that motion is to allow the payment of these bills? But
Yes.
then we want, okay.
Except for, and those would be reviewed, and then that would be for acceptance for January.
On what grounds?
To be able to review
These
the
2
invoicing.
individual checks? Why are we doing this? Or why do you want to do this?
I would like to be able to see them, and if there's any questions there, that they can be addressed.
So you're singling out a person to review checks that were written to them? Am I understanding that correctly? Because it's the same person each time.
So I have a motion, and we have support, right? I just want to make sure that we have. Did I get support on that motion? I forget.
Yep.
Okay.
Me and Sabrina.
Okay. I don't know where I wrote it, sorry. Oh, yes, sorry. Okay, so a motion and support. Okay. So what's the discussion?
I'm curious about that.
So did you want to explain a little bit more about why you wanted to make that motion?
I mean, is this a confidentiality thing that we have? Why we're not saying anyone's names?
I would
Probably.
not say anyone's name, no.
No,
No,
yeah.
I'm actually asking Brett.
Yeah, I would say better safer not to.
Right.
Just because we don't want to elude anything about anybody, or there would be a massive lawsuit as far as defamation of character, slander, libel, you name it. So I would really strongly discourage anybody from mentioning a name.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments? No? Okay. So all in favor of the motion to accept the payment of bills for November, pending the review of the 2 checks that were identified, and their invoices for those checks, which does allow the payment of all the bills. Am I stating that correctly?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So that is the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay.
Nay, this just feels kind of shady. I don't really get it, what the purpose is other than to single out a person. And I think that is bad business practice. Just be noted.
Okay, motion passes.
I will just say it has nothing to do with a person just because of who it may be. It's just something that needs to be looked at, that's all.
On what grounds?
So just, guys, we've already been past the discussion piece, so that moves us to action item number C. Rich, you asked for superintendent evaluation calendar date to be added to the agenda.
Correct.
So I need a motion to go into to explore this.
So moved.
Support.
Motion, Sabrina. Rachel. Okay, Rich?
Yeah, I move to have the superintendent's evaluation completed on and by the January Board of Education meeting on January 8th, 2023.
So motion to have the superintendent's evaluation completed on January 8th, 2023. So that is
2024.
2024.
Oh, that's right, 2024, sorry. Going backwards.
It's that first of the year stuff, right? All right, so is there a second to that?
To just have it done on time, like last
Yeah,
year?
that would get us into
I second.
discussion. Okay. Okay, so discussion on that, Rich? Start with you since it's yours.
No, it's just that the superintendent's evaluation needs to be done every year. And if we do not do it in January, it will push it past the 12-month deadline because we did it last year in January.
Okay.
And Richard, I'm sure you saw the email that MASB sent out, is that we've got till June 30th. And they strongly recommend their best practices to make sure everybody's trained to do it. And so she gave a couple options for that. There's an online training available, but her recommendation from MASB is to, if there's more than 3 people that need certifying, to have an in-person. So I just forwarded you her email. I forwarded everybody her email today.
Yep. And I responded that I've wondered why we do our evaluations in the middle of the school year, in the middle of a fiscal year. I feel like it would be a more valuable tool to do in the June meeting. We're talking about fiscal year end and start back, the beginning of the new fiscal year. It's the end of the academic school year. We would have a full we're not going from one year into the next to try to do the evaluations. We would have a full academic calendar year to go and get data on. And to the other point that Brett brought up, that would be getting the full board trained and certified in superintendent evaluations. The online course that they have comes after our January meeting, so that window would be missed. In addition, there is the clause about 3 consecutive years of, is it highly effective or effective reviews, which Brett has had, that we actually are not obligated to do it annually. I'm not saying that I think it's a good idea to do annually, but I think it would be better. I think it would be better for us to do that in June, and with the MASB's recommendation also going to that date or into June, that would be my recommendation.
Brett, do we have more than 3 people who have not taken the superintendent's evaluation?
She said, and it's in the email I sent, but she said there are 3 people right now.
Okay,
that are
but not more than 3. So we have a quorum that have taken the class.
Yes, but she also told me on the phone that there could be validation issues with that. But
Yeah, and it comes back to best practices.
Before then, because last year when we did yours,
Yep.
nobody had it. I don't
Well,
believe.
I was certified.
So you
I've been
only-
certified.
yeah, we'd had
Because
a
I'm
board
certified.
workshop, and traditionally how it goes, traditionally how it happens is the board president would organize, whether it's an in-person or making sure everybody's done, and yeah, and so we just wanted to follow best practice. That's all.
So help me to understand, in times past, evaluations have been done by board members who had not taken the evaluation training.
Possibly. We'd had a workshop,
Yes,
but I don't
because I
remember if
sat
it was
on one and I
my,
was
Rachel,
there.
you were there. Was it my first year, second year, we had a board workshop?
I believe it's your second year.
Yeah, we had a board workshop where somebody came and did it.
My only comment would be, I'm fine with that as long as I can get trained before that point, because I would want to be trained. And if I, for some reason, can't get trained before that, I will probably end up abstaining, because I don't think it's fair to go through an evaluation when I haven't been trained.
Yeah, and to that very point, last year, I mean, I had only been on the board a month when we did it, and Stephanie, what I chose to do at that point was, I said, I can offer some comments, but that's all I'm going to do. You can use them or not use them, but I'm not going to do any of the scoring. So, but yes, I think it's very important that we're.
And I was new, and I gave 0 comment, 0 evaluation, because it wouldn't have been fair. Yep.
Any other discussion on this item? Okay. All in favor of ensuring that we have the superintendent evaluation completed on January 8th, 2024, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. All right, motion passes. That takes us to public comment, please.
My name's Melissa. I'm a resident of Grant. I'm in Illinois. This school, I have just a couple simple questions. First of all, leading into that, which 3 board members have not completed that administrative evaluation?
I'll be honest, I have not. It was not something that was set as a requirement, so I haven't done it, and I apologize. That's something that I have not done yet, but I will.
Just curious if that was
Yep.
who had not completed that. My other question is similar. Sabrina, you just mentioned you had completed your 100s. Kind of a follow-up, because you guys we've brought up this discussion before. Who on the board has completed all of their 100s? Can you share with us?
I've completed 100, and I've completed enough classes for the second level except for just the amount of hours that is needed to receive level 2.
Okay, so we have 2 board members that have completed 100s and one that's completed 200 as well. Where in the 100s, may I ask the rest of you where you're at in that process?
I have full disclosure, I have basically taken advantage of the webinars and, the tutorials, things like that. I have not done any of the formal class. It's been a really incredibly busy couple of years, so.
Anyone else want to comment on where they're at?
I'm kind of along the same line there with Rob.
Yep,
You know,
and so am I.
the webinars, no, but not actually taking the class.
And for those of you that were at the Finance Committee meeting, I had brought up, outside of that discussion, the importance of training and providing those trainings to all of our board members, especially with the turnover we've had and the elections coming up next year, where we can assume some people will be replaced. Have you begun thinking of a training program or an outline of what should be completed as people go through? For example, Stephanie, resources, support, and the required board, or whether they're required or not, the fund is there, according to Holly, for those classes to be completed. Have you guys started getting to think about that process to onboard new board members next year?
My thought was the workshop.
I'm sorry?
My thought was the workshop
Yes,
that I brought up when we were in the meeting.
So that is something that will be on a future agenda that we'll be looking at to make sure that our board members have the resources they need and can.
And I think that's something that, you found out some information on, that there is someone willing to come in, which is great.
Yeah. And Rob, you comment. I think that's a big failure in the past, that MASB was not really pushed.
No.
It was not encouraged. It was, you were left on your own on that. And because I know when I came on board, there was no guidance, with that. And so I dealt into MASB myself and just went at it and that. But as far as having to pass president or anything like that, encouraging that was absolutely non-existent. And I think that has hurt the board in years past on that. But that is quickly changing. And I think, and all of us realize the importance of that, and that's why we're all pursuing that.
And truthfully, Rob and I both came in during COVID, where everything was our meetings were online. We had trouble sometimes even connecting with just our meetings. It wasn't even discussed about the MASB.
And no excuses. I mean, it's the ongoing training is a key part of it. So I take full responsibility that I have not maximized that opportunity. In our bylaws, it also is very, like our orientation, our onboarding is very sparse, and it's filled with, some recommendations. We encourage to do this, but there's really no guidance to how to make that process go. And I know Stephanie and Sabrina have talked about it from their training in the November conference. That there are opportunities for us to have a more rigorous onboarding and professional development component to our board that has not happened in the past. That is something that just needs to happen. So we're working towards that.
100%.
And I appreciate that more focus will go on training and education to prepare you for where you are. My final little question, does anyone mind sharing with me, outside of the monthly meeting, this meeting here, how many hours on average you think that you spend on Board of Education material, reading the packets, reviewing the agenda, suggesting changes prior to coming into the meetings?
Sometimes more than I care to.
It's up and down depending on what's in the packet, but it varies tremendously. If you want to average before we would come to the meeting, I would say pretty much every day of my life lately, at least like 2 to 4 hours is dedicated to either my CBAs or MASB webinars or the community outreach or looking through all the stuff that we're given, email follow-up, our Friday updates. I mean, it's continuous, honestly.
Does anyone else have enough thought?
Yeah, I would just say that for me, it is continuous throughout the day as well as after my work hours. So I've got some flexibility in my work, but I don't spend a whole lot of free time with the wife. I'll put it that way. I spend a lot of time doing this, so it's a lot. I don't log my hours, so I couldn't tell you how many hours I actually spend, but it's significant.
I would say, that's why I think I said it at the last board meeting, that if you want to be connected on the board, it takes hours. And probably on the average, easily 5 to 10 hours per week that you have to pour into it and continue to observe things, keep up on things, and review and so forth. So it's just not our meeting here. We just don't come in and, say yay, and go home. There's a lot of behind the scenes that takes a lot of time, and that, let alone the hours to put in for their classes and seminars and conferences and so forth. So, for example, like I sit on the state bylaws and resolution committee. The only reason I got there, and I haven't even been on a board for a year, is because of my due diligence in taking the classes, because that has to be weighed out to be able to sit on one of those committees. So for all of us, it does. All of us probably can take at least a day per week that we got to stay on top of things. And Ken it's another full-time job probably for the president, I would say.
I mean, Rob, you have another board that you sit on too, another school board, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lindsay Malish. So I wanted to follow up on the motion made to have the superintendent's evaluation completed by January 8th of 2024. And before I jump into my question, I just want to read a short portion of our bylaw on the evaluation of the superintendent. So the board shall annually evaluate the performance of the superintendent. Such evaluation shall include an assessment of the progress towards the educational goals of the district, the working relationship between the board and the superintendent, the board's own effectiveness in providing direction to the superintendent, and criteria required by section 124(9)B or other applicable state laws. So I want to go back to the first one, A, the progress towards educational goals of the district. So is the board all aware of the strategic plan? Perfect. That outlines many of our educational goals as a district, laid out and requested by the community. Are you aware that the next strategic planning committee meeting is January 10th, 2 days after you plan on having the superintendent evaluation completed? Are you going to use that strategic plan and our progress towards that strategic plan in the superintendent's evaluation? Based on no feedback, what I would recommend that you do prior to concluding this meeting is rescinding that motion on the table and pushing that date out. Thank you.
So Lindsay, just to make sure that I touch base on it, there is a MASB evaluation tool that we use, and it lays out a bunch of the things that we can look at. And Brett actually takes and he puts a lot of that evidence together and brings it to the board. So the evaluation tool that we use is very standardized.
So how can Brett effectively put that information together if the strategic planning committee is scheduled to meet January 10th to provide him updates?
It covers the last year.
Okay, so we have December, right? The semester ends a week from now. How can, if that's the last day before break, you want that done January 8th, how is he able to evaluate and compile feedback on that as well?
And this is where the challenge of having a January date is, because we would be looking at from July 1st, basically, we'd be looking at the second semester of the 2022-2023 year, and then the fall semester of the 2023-2024 year. So we're basically looking at two portions of two different school years to try to come together with this assessment. And our strategic plan is the biggest factor that we look into when we're looking at Brett's evaluation or any superintendent. It's how are you meeting those goals and criteria set forth with that strategic plan.
Yeah, so to that point, that strategic plan is not going to be updated and compiled for the remainder of 2023 before we expect a superintendent to turn in their evaluation. I don't really think that makes sense, that we're going to have a strategic planning committee literally 2 days after you intend on having that evaluation completed.
We just have a strategic plan, let's just get them 2 months ago, right? The superintendent does a self-evaluation. Are you aware of that?
I am aware of that process.
Okay,
yes.
so we have not received that yet. Once we receive that, then we can complete our evaluation and have a completion of that.
So is that the only thing you'll use for the evaluation? You're not considering the strategic plan
No,
at all?
no, I didn't say that. We will get his evaluation, and then we will look at all the things that are relative and are included in those evaluation sheets, which includes a broad range of things. We can look at the strategic plan and look at the goals, and that's part of it. What goals have been reached? Where are we at? How is it progressing? All of that goes into that evaluation. Okay?
But you can't look at it if you're not giving him the opportunity, or the committee, or the community that serve on that committee, the chance to update it and provide you the most accurate information possible. That committee has not met and updated since early fall, so we've had several months for our administrators, our superintendent, our community members to work towards those strategic goals. And obviously, it's listed in our bylaws as one of the top priorities that our superintendent is evaluated against those educational goals. So either there's a different list of educational goals out there we'll be using, or it's the educational goals listed in the strategic plan, which was built out by feedback from this community. So what I would ask you to consider before you push that date through of January 8th of completing an evaluation that's very important to our school district in one of the busiest times of the year, reconsider pushing that date back so you can have all of the data available to you.
Point of order.
Thank you, Lindsay. Did you, just want to ask, did you stop that when she was being interrupted? Okay, thank you. All right. Anyone else?
Good evening. These are facts and questions in response to a Freedom of Information Act.
Can you state your name?
My name is Amy Nelson.
Thank you.
These are facts and questions in response to the Freedom of Information Act, also known as FOIA, request dated October 11, 2023. So this is all public information. Having a grant writer on staff may be a good use of our taxpayer dollars, but I have some questions regarding that position and compensation. The Grant Public School website staff directory listed the grant writer before she took a job elsewhere as grant writer, district administration, and office staff. The GPS website transparency documents record a salary in 2022 of $103,883 for this position. I kind of watch all the over 100,000 staff positions. The FOIA request returned no information related to the creation of a grant writer position, including the job description, pay scale, or board meeting minutes, recording the approval of such a position. When did the board approve this position, pay scale, and hiring of a grant writer as required by Grant Public Schools board policy? The grant writer had 2 contracts at the same time. One teacher contract with a start date of July 1, 2023 with a yearly salary of $33,457. 2 grant writer contract for 2 years starting August 23, 2022 through June 9, 2024 with a yearly salary of $42,561. Both contracts state, quote, "This agreement supersedes any and all other contracts or agreements that may be in effect as of this date, which concern the employment relationship between the employee and the school district," unquote. How can one person have 2 different contracts with this statement in bold? I don't know. Question for someone else. The grant writer position contract was signed by Ms. Doe, the grant writer, on September 9, 2022. Mr. Zuver on 10/20/2022, over a month later. The contract contains the board president's signature of Neil Gears and the board secretary's signature of Diane Ring, both without a date line by their signatures. The fact here is that Diane Ring left the board after the December 2022 meeting as her term expired, and Neil did not become president until January of 2023. Was this contract signed without holding the office for which they signed? I don't know, or maybe the signatures lag with no date, we don't know. Remember that Chris Leslie was president until after the November 2022 board meeting. Compensation for these 2 contracts equals $76,018. I would ask where the remaining $27,865 came from to bump this pay to the transparency record amount of $103,883. How much of that $27,865 came from hourly time cards turned in? Why is someone on salary for a grant writing position also getting paid an hourly wage? Did the board approve such an arrangement? Wouldn't this be considered double dipping? How much of that $27,865 came from stipend payments?
Thank you, Amy.
For grants written?
Amy, I need to stop you. Thank you.
Okay. I'll give a packet of the FOIA information to Mrs. Anderson, the board president, and that.
Thank you, Amy. Any other comment?
I'm Mary Brown. I live in Grant, and I just wanted to say thank you to Mr. Aiken and his staff and middle schoolers that were caroling out tonight. I was literally about to walk out the door to come here, had my coat on and everything, and all of a sudden my deck and my driveway were full of students singing Joy to the World, and they sang the entire song all through all the verses. So I just wanted to say thank you to all of them. That
Nice.
really brought some joy to my evening, so I just wanted to say that.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Mary.
Josh Stein, 259 Exchange Street, City of Grant, resident. Appreciate some of the information shared today. Definitely want to echo some of the feedback of the amazing things that the school is doing. Definitely warms the heart to hear about people giving back. People ask me what I want for Christmas every year, buy a gift for somebody else. And to hear the students going out shopping, buying stuff for their community members when they probably want to buy stuff for themselves instead. I think it's building some great skills and feelings that people can translate into the future. So appreciate hearing that sort of stuff. I also appreciate hearing some of the data today. quite a bit in legal fees paid this fiscal year. The school operates on a fiscal year. My mind is always on a calendar year. Since January 1st, 2023, the school's spent close to $100,000 in legal fees. It's just astronomical. In 2022, there was a CAHC contract update. Apparently, some of the school board members don't feel it was valid. I haven't really heard why or any sound legal argument for that. But I also heard there was some reference of how much this contract negotiation cost, and then there was also some reflection on legal expenses in 2021 and 2022. How much did we spend for this contract negotiation compared to what was spent for the last contract negotiation for the health center? Does the Finance Committee know that information? Any willingness to share? I fully about the fees.
You'd have to look to get an accurate number.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe the last contract negotiation was back in 2012. That was the last contract that was negotiated.
2022.
It's like a letter.
How much did the school pay to update that?
That was like a letter of agreement or a memo of understanding, and that was nothing. That's just that, it had been a rolling thing. Yeah, it'd been a rolling thing. It didn't cost anything. But I don't know how much was spent on this one. I don't know that.
Yeah.
Was there language updated in that?
It's just been a letter of agreement that's been going on for as long as I can tell, looking back. The original contract, I think, was done in, 2011 or 2012, but then it's just been memo of understanding or a letter of agreement that's been going since long before I got here.
Yeah, I've reviewed the 2011 and the 2022, and there are some language differences. So there's some kind of update that occurred, whether it's an agreement, a new negotiation. The amount that the school paid in legal fees for that agreement update was significantly less than what we paid for this new contract that we have. And we just heard today about the thousands of medical and behavioral health appointments that that service provides. We heard the principal talking about the sadness that can be pervasive in the school and how people need this support. What did the school gain from the thousands of dollars that were spent on that contract update? Like, all the background checks have been done. FYI, any licensed medical professional in the state of Michigan also is regulated by LARA, and they do their own background checks. And Family Healthcare already does their own background checks. Were any staff flagged who shouldn't have been here because of the fingerprinting, that language that was added to the contract?
Thank you, Joshua.
Mr. Vermoni, thanks for your time.
Rebecca Bob, I'm a member of Grant Township. So I don't know if anybody's able to talk about this quite yet, but I don't know how many people are aware, but we are beginning to see the repercussions from not being able to get bonds passed and the unnecessary spending of legal bills. I've heard through the grapevine that the athletic department has been asked to cut $20,000 from their budget. That's a significant amount to be asked to be cut. My question is there any other department that has been asked to cut funds from their budget? If so, if there's a way to know what those amounts are and what is the total amount the district is looking to cut from the budget?
Yeah, I'll answer that. Every department and or school building's been asked to cut $20,000 just because our enrollment's down much more than we projected. And so the anticipated cost savings with that would be $120,000. Sure. Usually I emote and project pretty well. Coaching boys. Yeah. We had gotten together, and just with our enrollment being lower than had been projected, we had to start chipping away at this just to be fiscally responsible. And so have asked every building and or department to cut $20,000. So it's not just athletics. It's hard though. It stinks. It stinks. But the overall goal for that is $120,000 this year, and then we're all going to work together and figure out ways to get the ship righted a little bit when we'd anticipated a much less enrollment decline than we've actually had. So it was kind of a mid-year shift that we've had to make, unfortunately. But our directors have done a great job, and our principals have done a great job with understanding. It's nothing anybody likes to do. It's a situation where I personally have felt like we are finally getting to a place where we can compete with other school districts as far as staffing and programming and all of that. And then now all of a sudden we're having to tighten the reins a little bit on that. So, but that's a good question.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah. But to your point, it does describe the situation that we're in, which is a razor-thin margin for error when it comes to funding and funding streams. That's why having a grant writer has been so valuable to this district, because we don't have much wiggle room, and especially when things are out of your control. We are well, I say we, but it's the administration, it's the teachers, everybody are asked to yet again figure out how to pinch pennies and make it work.
The other thing, maybe might help you with that, when you hear that the state has increased its budget to the public schools, you've got to understand, on the other hand, it becomes self-funding to their pension fund, because our pension fund, the amount that we have to pay, increased also, but it also increased at the same rate that the state increased, more or less, what they give to the school. So we really don't end up with any more spending, any more money to work with, because it goes right back into the state till. So don't be deceived. What the state gives us was increased. It was, but it goes back to them on that. And so that's why sometimes we have to continue looking at our budget, because it's only with what's coming in that's not designated. That's what we have to cut. Does that make sense? Okay.
I'm Wayne Trudeau. You've talked a lot about funding and strategic plans and the students dropping. I came to the board, not this board, the previous board, probably 5-6 years ago, and addressed this problem where these wouldn't be problems if we retain our students. If you look over the last 10 years, the amount of students that we lose would fund all these things that we have. And some things were mentioned at the last school board meeting that I came here as a county commissioner to correct. Things about the census of our area, and we are increasing. Newaygo County has near 50,000 people now. And in the county, we've had places like the Rate Place that they're a company that comes along and they do strategic plans, come alongside counties like Kent County, Newaygo, and Muskegon, and they study your county. And they have shown us out of 83 counties in Michigan, we're in the top 10%. That's Newaygo. I mean, there's a lot to be proud of in this county. And with that, they're showing economic and population growth. So out of our county, the biggest population growth, which would make sense, because we have 19,000 people out of the county that commute to Grand Rapids, Muskegon for jobs. Out of that, most of them live in the lower part of Newaygo County, which is the Grand Ashland Townships. So I brought it to the previous board, which none of you were on, and I think they were looking at ways, how can we address student retention? And it's just something that I think you guys have talked about, you're aware of it, and I hope that's part of the plan, because a lot of good things you've talked about tonight, which I think is going in the right direction to do that. But there are schools around us, they're gaining numbers. My brother was on the Kent City School Board for 16 years. He called me up 6 years ago and he goes, what is going on? We've got 89 students in Grant in 1 year.
Wow.
So these are just problems that the board here, our staff, and administration should. I mean, that's a serious thing, student loss. I mean, should be our number one goal. Retain our students. A lot of these problems with budgets, we wouldn't be talking about them. Thank you for your time and your work. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Okay. See no other public comment. That takes us into discussion items. Anything that the board specifically wants to discuss?
Should we go back and discuss whether or not the January 8th is the right date to do the evaluation?
I mean, we can discuss it. I mean, we've made a motion to pass it. I guess that would be up to the board if they want to change that.
As just part of the discussion, would it be worth looking into a special meeting, yet still in January, but after both MASB training and also strategic planning committee meets? For evaluation, yeah.
I would be comfortable with that too. I'm not trying to, like,
Give us another meeting.
I'm just
but,
saying
yeah.
if we wanted to let it roll its course, if you feel more comfortable, and I can help you with Ken get that training
Yeah.
scheduled, which I know you know very well because he helped me with some of that. But we could get that done and then just after the strategic planning update, committee hearing, do a special meeting and then get that taken care of. And that's after the new year, and I'm not trying to force anybody, I'm just saying I don't absolutely disagree. I think it still needs to be taken care of, but I would be fine still making sure it got taken care of in January.
Okay. Is there a motion to be made there? I don't know that this is necessarily the place, but we can entertain it. I'm not going to say that we can't.
I don't have looking at the calendar, is there a date that makes sense? So we could look at either the 15th or the 20th, probably the 15th, so it doesn't butt up too close to our February meeting, but either the 15th or the 22nd.
I'm just going to say I can't meet the meetings. My schedule is set. I work 4 hours out of town. And my schedule is,
Yeah, it doesn't have to be on a
Doesn't be
Monday.
on Monday. What day works for you?
well, not during the week. So I'm just saying.
You adjust your schedule so that you're here
Oh,
in
yeah.
town, right?
Yeah. Which that's per month, because all these dates are set
Right.
a year in advance.
I mean, not always. We have special meetings from time to time. That's in the summer. Just throwing it out there.
So I'm not hearing a specific motion.
You want to make a motion now?
I file a motion to recommend that we move the superintendent evaluation to a later date in January to be determined.
I think it's important that we put a date to it if we're going to change it.
Then the 22nd.
So there's a motion to move that to the 22nd.
I second the motion.
Rob and Stephanie. Okay, so specific discussion on that. So Rich, I guess, Monday, the 22nd, could you make that work?
Well, I just disagree. I mean, we need to keep it within the contract, and it needs to be done within the year. I mean, if we're, the minute we start playing around with the details, then what's the use of having any type of deadlines or dates in a contract or whatever? And so I just feel that it's within the guidelines of the contract. I know that people have not done their evaluation, but that's, to me, that is not a relevant issue on the basis that the majority of this board has had ample time to do that training. And so I say we keep it the way it is. It keeps our monthly meetings the same as it is. And If training is available between now and then, those people can take the training and we move forward. We're already, well, we're already 4 to 6 weeks behind on doing this. And all that does is prolong something that should be kept to the schedule. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. So I will say that I agree. I think that, keeping it as scheduled at our regular scheduled board meeting is probably the cleanest thing to do. We are behind, and I get that. But, it is what it is, and we need to get through this. So, we've essentially had since October to get this thing started, so, and it hasn't happened. So I think that it's important that we get this done and we can move forward. And then if we choose, if everybody is on the same page of moving this to a July to June type schedule, that, we look at what steps do we actually need to make to get that, to move to that schedule. But I personally think that we should keep it for the 8th. Whether we had done the evaluation in November or not, that strategic plan meeting wasn't going to happen before that anyways. So, those things happen, and the strategic plan is a living thing, and it is something that we should know where we're at with it. So, I personally, I don't see a need to move it to a later date. So that's just my position. Jeanette, Rachel, anybody, any? Okay, so we have a motion. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
So we have a motion and a second, and that is to move that to the 22nd, to move the evaluation to the 22nd. All in favor of moving that to the 22nd, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Okay, motion fails. All right, anything else? Nope. All right, seeing nothing else, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion.
Okay, motion to adjourn by Rich. And who made a second on that? Sabrina. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Opposed say nay. All right, motion adjourned, or meeting adjourned.
Where they do, all do it aye, and they say nay, and there's one voice. And then they're like, and this little guy goes, it was him. I think I'm not.
I didn't get up there till 3 o'clock.
What?